everyone. I am Sudeshna Mitra, Senior Associate Content People Matters. I would like to welcome you all to this virtual live session brought to you by People Matters in association with Sunstone University. It is my privilege to welcome you all to this exciting session and be your host for the day. Today's discussion, as a part of the Talent Talk series, will focus on the theme Finding the Right Partner. What are your talent needs this year? Talent will continue to be one of the most critical assets of any organization as they invent and reinvent their business strategies. Building a future ready workforce is easier said than done, especially in the light of the World Economic Forum reporting a change in 42% of core skills required to perform existing jobs in the year 2022. This demands organizations to take a clear look at the skills gaps that they must close to future proof themselves against any and all potential disruptions. One key solution in gaining a competitive edge in this talent hunt is by building the right partnerships and investing more in campus hiring. With industry academia collaboration taking center stage in closing skills gap through acquiring the best of fresher talent, the current priority of organizations that would best serve their business interests is to find not just a future ready workforce, but a company ready workforce through the process. Sunstone is committed to democratize opportunities and help aspirants achieve the future they envision by connecting learning and career growth with better opportunities through a fluid skill development experience. Sunstone's mission is to create a synergy between training aspirants and making them employable professionals by offering industry aligned training modules and equip them with new age skill sets. Sunstone offers financial support with flexible financing plans to promote economic independence. A vibrant campus life is what Sunstone promises to foster robust bonds and a deep sense of community among peers. As a placement catalyst, Sunstone ensures that aspirants across the country are able to secure their dream job. Joining us today are our panelists, and our first panelist today is Renu Vora, CHRO DB Schenker. As a seasoned HR professional with 25 years of experience in HR strategy, learning and development, talent management, OD, employee communication, talent acquisition, CSR, labor law, and many more. Renu has been recognized by many platforms and forums for her contribution as a leader in the journey of being an avid professional. Welcome, Renu. And our second panelist is Meenu Chopra, Talent Acquisition Lead Director, JLL. She's a data driven person and will always be keen to be involved in new initiatives. She has grown with recruiting people in various domains, and this has been a fantastic learning curve for her through her stints at many well known brands. She believes that this is one of the way of exchanging knowledge. Welcome, Meenu, and welcome, Renu, both of you. And our third panelist is Virapaji Shivana, Head Campus Recruitment of ITC Infotech. Virapaji, aka Veera, is an engineer turned recruitment leader with 15 plus years of experience, predominantly in the campus recruitment space in India. He has been with organizations like Infosys, Wipro, Atos, Mindtree, Hexaware. Currently heading the campus recruitment function for ITC Infotech, Veera has brought in major revolutionary initiatives to life, ranging from technology learning centers to center of excellences in various niche technologies across the tier of the engineering and business schools. He is on the board of several universities across the country, guiding the universities on their growth path. Welcome, Veera. And next we have
Thank you.
Piyush Nangru, co-founder and COO of Sunstone Eduversity. Piyush is the co-founder and COO of Sunstone Eduversity, a higher education organization providing accountable and integrated education, an engineer from NSIT and an MBA from IMT Ghaziabad. Piyush has always loved the thrill of entrepreneurship, which has led him to found multiple startups across the industries. Welcome, Piyush. That's some great energy. And now, without wasting any more time, let's move on to our discussion. And we do have a lot to discuss today. Once again, a very warm welcome to our esteemed panelists. It is a great opportunity for me to have you all, and looking forward to engaging in an informative discussion with you. Now, before we begin the discussion, just reminder for the live audience, please keep sharing your questions in the chat box with us. And now, without further ado, let me begin our question and answer session with our speakers. So, the first question that I have is actually addressed to all of you, all the speakers. What are the key challenges your industry is facing when it comes to entry level hiring? First of all, I would like to get that answer from Renu.
First of all, thanks a lot to the organizers for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with the esteemed panel. So, the question is what are the challenges that we are facing at the entry level hiring? It's such an important question. Uh, and I think the first and foremost challenge that we face is a very basic one: which institute to choose. Now, you may think that, what is this challenge, but it is a big challenge because there are many institutions in India, and you need to either A, experience with them, or B, is that you have to have had some kind of, database to say that, which one is better for what kind of role and profile. And then we have requirements in various locations in India. Which one is the nearest one to which will cater to your needs? So sourcing becomes an important point. Um and then comes on the assessment of the students. uh, I had worked in one organization where we used to hire young engineers, and then after 1 or 1.5 years, they would leave for doing their higher education, and the training was not was like in one way wasted effort. While one may consider that, if 50% is your turnover, accept it and go ahead with it. But I'm saying that if we are able to know what are the aspirations of those young students, young pass outs, and do the right role offering to them, then I think that is one way to look at it, and it will handle our challenge to entry level hiring. One challenge also is around orientation. At times, we find that the students who are hired from these institutes, they need to be oriented to the requirements of the organization. Now, we know even a lateral hire has to be oriented, but this transition is at times very long in the case of entry level hires. So these are the three broad challenges that I would say we face with entry level hirings. Thank you.
Now, I would like to take that question to Piyush as you're heading, an institute. So probably you will be able to share uh, some deep dive insights on with us on this.
First of all, thank you, People Matters, for inviting me to be part of the panel. Honor to share the stage with such esteemed other panelists. To take your question, I think the whole problem arises because the organizations which are spread geographically, they want to recruit the talent for a specific skill set across India, right? Be it banking, be it logistics, be it retail. These are all primarily pan India roles of a same organization. And if even if you found a particular institute to be good, which is serving you talent in NCR, you got to find a similar institute in Jaipur, then a similar institute in Indore, then a similar institute in Coimbatore. So that is where, because these are all non-standardized education products ultimately. So therefore, the kind of output which comes out, they are not at all at par. So therefore, a lot of training has to go in, which needs to be invested in by the organization for freshers. So that, I think, this non-standardization because of no single window access is one particular challenge which the organizations face. The second part is on the attitudes and behavioral side of things. while hard skills are still easy to acquire or learn on the job. And that is where industry always prefers lateral hires. At least the business leaders, is what I hear, are always after the talent acquisition guys, that we need lateral hires, and ultimately a fresher needs to start somewhere. So because of that attitude and behavioral aspects, which the lateral guys are already accustomed to, which they have, the transition in this case is very huge. So someone really needs to invest a lot on these aspects as well. This, I feel, is another major challenge.
Well, so there comes a question of investing into building the skills. So I would like to take that question to Meenu. So, what are the challenges, and what do you have to say about whatever Piyush said? How do you want to take that forward?
Uh, Thank you. I think I totally agree to what Renu started, on the piece of intervention, OD intervention, and how we can scale up as a talent acquisition professionals when we reach out to the not just campus, but I think reaching out to even a fresher also from any source. I think we really need to handhold them. I think that's where it is important. I am not here to give you any job, but I'm here to give you a career path. Because I think when we reach out to any individual, be it it's an entry level or lateral hiring and leadership hiring, it's important what knowledge management I am sharing with that particular individual. It can be role based, it can be about company, it can be about competitors, or how that person will settle in, right? If you will look at the growth market, right? I think these issues have started persisting in 2 years more, because we have been really doing everything virtually, and there is no physical contact, which is very very important at certain roles where we talk about specifically soft skills. I hire a lot of people in that category. So I think overall, not just from the articulation standpoint, but I think from the industry knowledge is very important. And I think that's what I do every day. I think it's very very important to handhold the candidates, the individuals, and I think a lot of intervention required from a person who is representing the organization from a standpoint of hiring a talent. So that's my take. Thank you.
So now I would like to ask Veera. Veera, how do you take that question, and what are your experiences as far as this thing is
Yeah.
concerned?
Thanks, People Matters and Sudeshna for kind of having me here. I completely echo with the opinion that is shared by Renu, Meenu, and Piyush. But to me, the perennial problem that the industry is facing is that how do we get candidates, particularly freshers, to join the organization and become immediately billable for my projects. So this time to billability of a particular candidate becomes extremely important. That's the critical factor that drives all the other things. Which institution should I choose? What assessment matrix that I need to choose? And how do I ensure that I give customized, ready-made talent to the business units of my organization. So if you look at that perspective, I would say that the challenge for us is, because that 10 years, 20 years before, the competition was less fierce. There was no startup era. And we used to go to these colleges and pick up talent, and we used to have that budget to invest in the training for about 2 months to 3 months. But hopefully what is happening right now, and we have also realized in a couple of stints that I have, that the training we are planning to shift into the universities, because ideally the universities are required to give you ready-made candidates for your business requirements, which is kind of a perennial problem that the entire industry is trying to solve, but still we have not been able to figure that out. Every year at organization I can see at least 100 to 200 billion being invested on training these freshers. So can this be kind of fed back to the universities, which becomes in collaboration with the universities who can give us ready-made talent, at the same time kind of reduce the time to billability. I think I would say that these are the challenges, and if you're able to address this challenge of early billable to kind of projects, I think that will solve the fundamental issue of getting them ready and running within the projects. That's my take.
All right. So now taking that, question further, like from Vira's response, comes my next question. So, like giving the companies, the institutes supposed to give the companies the expectations of them to give the ready talent. So now my next question is going to Renu, that how has the ongoing skills shortage contributed to your talent requirements, and what are the skills that you're exactly looking for?
Thanks, Sudeshna. I think it's a mix of when it comes to skills. I think it's both hard and soft skills, which primarily the industry I am right now. I think for past 6 years I'm looking at. I think we always look at building up talent from the scratch. We have done some tie-ups recently where we have gone and where we have gone and changed the curriculum for 30, 60 days and then a training model with us, so that we have what Veera said, that we need to have calibrated and we need to have ready talent coming in, some pool for sure, out of, if I suppose my hiring is 100 numbers, at least I contribute 25 to 30% of students coming in with the trained skills, what I'm looking forward to, especially when we are talking about B2B business where clients are very dynamic, one is very different from another. And of course, we have a lot of people come to us and they have a lot of choices. In one decade, I think that's very prominent. uh, 10 years back, I think it was not there. I think there was very limited choices, when it comes to career, also when it comes to even the competitors, so I think it's a race, it's a race for sure. And I think you have to make your presence very, very visible, not just with the colleges, but with the industry leadership people, how they collaborate. And of course, there is certain dynamic which are changing every day in terms of looking at talent, how you enrich them, how you give them a potential growth path, once they join you. I think that's very significant, which comes us from the freshers. Even, I think that's the question they come up, and when I have been in pre-placement talk recently, I think whatever virtual sessions we have, and I've been doing actively campus placements virtually this year also. I think that's the most prominent question which I came across, what is the career path after 1 year or 2 years. So I think that's where industry leaders have to really think through, even before going and approaching, that what talent we bring in, how we handhold them for a longer, and of course, again, it's a mix of both hard and soft skills, looking at, of course, there are some major areas where we are doing hiring right now as business intelligence, which is a major demand of the industry. Every company, every another company is looking for people to cater that kind of talent. So I think, yeah, uh, I think hiring a talent is no more orthodox now. I think we have been coming with a lot of automation in past 3 4 years, where we have developed certain things. I think going into a group discussion and doing a PI was a very backdated. We are doing a lot of assessments also nowadays, where we need to look at that, what exactly person stands for when it comes to not just the capability of skills of hard and soft, but culture also. That is something very important, because I mostly my hiring is done at the client side. So how client will respond. So I think that's where we need to be more collaborative. Looking at both parameters, hard and soft, is very, very important. Thank you.
So going by that response, as Meenu spoke about both hard and soft skills. Renu, I have the next question for you, and that is, when hiring for your organizations, how do you balance out the need for hard and soft skills?
Well, I would say uh, that hard skills are, the corporates cannot teach you the hard skills. So we would expect that the students, by doing their very specific course in their respective institute, which is very well, which is intensive, which is uh, maybe the world class, depending upon which institute we are talking about, depending upon the faculty that they have, uh, and the kind of research and uh, research going on in the institute. I think they would come with a very upbeat or cutting edge, uh, knowledge of technology depending upon what is your organization's needs. We cannot expect them to have a soft skills, but but if they have it, it is very very good, because that will ensure success and long-term success. We know in most of the corporates, unless you are working with very specific R&D department, you would need a lot of collaborative skills, and which means we are talking about team working, we are talking about uh, closing the communication loop, we're talking about if your manager has given you some or discussed with you some topic, you are supposed to come back to, as basic as this, this is like we say common sense, or even having this etiquettes of listening, uh, while you're sitting in a meeting and not speaking at the same time speaking while you are supposed to brainstorm, and not being, prodded again and again, that we speak, giving respect to others. These are the kind of soft skills that we expect. At the same time, I also know that, as we grow along, we have seen even managers do lack empathy, managers do lack that kind of consideration that they are required for the team members, which means that, if you do not have those soft skills, it is not something that, it's a gone case. Corporates definitely can train you, can align you. But I believe that if from the very beginning of the uh, of the education that one does in the school and in the colleges and the institute, if there's equal focus given, through sports or through uh, it's difficult to teach people inclusion when when you hire them um, after their graduation or post graduation. Then even this idea about, what is inclusion, it's so alien to them, because they are in their, when you enter a corporate, then you are into performance and other things, then you think that you own everything, or you are like king, and you forget that it's so important to have inclusion in the, or even respect for a alternate thought, or uh, diversity of thoughts. So I would say that institutions should give equal focus on these two. Otherwise, it is very very difficult for them to flourish and the organizations to flourish. Thank you.
So now I would like to address my next question to Veera.
Yeah. So
That
taking the taking that point, Sudeshna, on hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills, falls into a tangible category wherein you and the context, becomes irrespective. For example, if I'm a Java developer and I am working in a company A, company B, company C, Java remains same. So that becomes more tangible, and the context doesn't really matter. But when it comes to soft skills, it really matters, and that is something which recently organizations have started increasingly focusing on. How do I evaluate the candidate's fitment into the role primarily, and to the organization in general? I think that becomes very important. And hard skills, they are, while they're required, but sometimes when I'm hiring a candidate, I look at more of fitment. For example, if I need to quantify it, hard skills are easily quantifiable, but whereas soft skills, you cannot quantify so easily. But thanks to so many instruments that is available these days to kind of figure out what kind of personality traits that the employees or the candidates belong to. But and I know that by measuring this personality traits, we will not be able to either select or reject. So the selection rejection is not primarily done on soft skills, but however, the organization's core success is actually more weighing towards the soft skills, while hard skills are also important. So I believe that soft skills is where majority of the organizations are right now focusing on heavily. Having said that, there are a lot of instruments in terms of measuring traits, it is and given the fact that hard skills are sometimes easily trainable, soft skills are something that can be imbibed. I won't say we cannot train them. They have to imbibe when they come into your organization, get exposed to the people, get exposed to the culture, and start accumulating those nuances which is important for your organization. So I guess in my view, soft skills way more heavier, because that is something which tells you how far the candidate can run in your organization, while the hard skill can tell you how deeper that guy can run into some of the challenges that you have as an organization. So that would be kind of my view. But while definitely both are important, but if you ask me the current context, you know soft skills I would weigh heavily, because that is something which will run the organizations for a longer duration.
Okay, so now, going back to Piyush, hiring talent that is ready to work right from day one. It sounds easier, but in practical, it may be a little challenging. So, what are some of the strategies that can be developed to resolve these challenges? And what is the role that Sunstone University is playing to resolve these?
Great, great. Great. So I think the way our conventional education is structured, it is not best suited to address the rapidly evolving changes. We are changing by the hour these days, new technologies, new use cases coming up, and the conventional education system is not geared up to sort of accommodate all of that. That's why I'm really glad to hear most of the panelists here are working back with the universities in some way or the other to inject training modules, which is actually really music to our ears. I truly believe the solution here has to be some sort of a industry academia partnership, wherein industry and academia come together to co-create programs. These programs could be role-based. These programs could be domain-based. Uh, Imagine these programs to have more real-life simulation-based programs, which gives the actual flavor of what is going to be expected in the job. If I can take certain examples, uh, let's say if there's a new technology coming up, right? So could that technology be plugged in, which we know that would never be part of the comp science engineering ever. If let's say COVID vaccines are to be transported, then that becomes a new use case which will never be taught in operations specializations in MBA. So these are some of the use cases wherein new age organizations can actually put them in and make it part of the training modules. This gives the corporates a far more predictable uh, talent pipeline, and at the same time making sure that the candidates or the students which come out are far more ready to hit the ground on day one when they join the organization. So that's something which an approach which I truly believe, at least in the last year or the last semester, some part of it should be given back so that the corporate save on the training cost. We at Sunstone are sort of pioneering in the same domain. We work very closely with the existing campuses on ground. We have a partner network of around 27 odd campuses across 18 cities, and we inject training modules from corporates, and use cases can be as niche as a gold loan officer to logistics manager, warehouse, etc. And we inject these programs into classrooms so that the students which come out are far more industry ready.
So I would add on to Piyush, given the fact that we are all aware that the more the generic the role is. For example, if an IT services fresher, okay, bulk of the big boys in the market hire volumes of candidates from the market. So the from the role being generic, as the role gets more specific and specific, the choices becomes very difficult for for an organization. For example, if I'm a large organization of 5 lakh people hiring 50,000 candidates a month, then obviously I cannot very specifically create a JD that I need to go out and hire, because I'll never be able to meet the numbers. Because end of the day, for staff augmentation, what matters is how do we fulfill, and then comes the question of, is the fulfilled numbers qualitative? So in my perspective, as the JD becomes more specific, the choices become very minimal. And based on your requirement in terms of the talent, in terms of the number, that is where you have to customize your strategy to kind of go for it. I would say, for example, if I need a semiconductor specialist, coming out of a college, then my options clearly boil down to some of the top IITs and NITs. Because after that, obviously you may go to the institutions, but your probability of hiring becomes very, very less. If the conversion at IITs is say 10%, the conversions other than IITs becomes 1% or less than even 1%. So I would say, for organizations have to understand what is that they want, accordingly tailor and identify the target institutions, engage more deeper and engage much earlier, I would say. Because right now, the conventional methodology that I'll go to the final year and then only start hiring is done and dusted. We have seen niche organization going into the institutes, getting connected even with the professors. Because for a niche technology, I'll have to go to IIT Kanpur professor AYABC is able to give me 15 such candidates, because he on a day-to-day basis is working with these candidates and know the pulse of these candidates and knows what an organization requires. So I would say, as per the need, we have to strategize, connect with the institutions more deeper, and widen the connect. Because we cannot only rely on final year graduates, but we need to build the talent. See, what I call as seasonality to the campus recruitment has to be broken. Because the requirement actually is coming throughout the year. Earlier there was a kind of set seasonality to campus recruitment, saying that I'll go in August, September, pick up the candidates, wait them till June for the next year for these guys to get in. But that demand from a market dynamics is now getting shattered. Every other day I get calls from business heads saying that hey, look, I want 50 PIGA certified engineers tomorrow. Okay, while most of the businesses actually they wanted yesterday, they will come be saying, I wanted yesterday, but you can give me in the next week. So given this market dynamics in terms of requirement, I think we'll have to strategize and build a strategy which breaks this seasonality into campus recruitment in India and gives you that throughout the year supply chain, which can definitely meet your needs for the talent. So there are certain strategies. One, internships can be more frequent. Instead of 3 months, go 1 month and give them between the semesters, give them some assignments to do, work with the professors, sponsor some of the tech forums and tech symposiums across the organization, become more visible, at the same time become more choosy in terms of what you want. That I would say has to stitch into. While there is no single framework or template saying that, hey, I'll give you template, use this template, will work. I cannot say that. Because as Piyush was saying earlier, today's technology is tomorrow's obsolescence. Today there is something as Java, so tomorrow, 2 years down the line, it may be completely taken over by a new technology. We don't know. So to kind of be more agile in terms of the strategy, at the same time run the supply chain throughout the year, break the seasonality, and widen your net, to kind of go and get the talent which otherwise is unspotted.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
adding to Veera's point, I think bridging the education curriculum, I think we really need to go and look at the inception, that how our colleges, how our institutes are, working on certain curriculums, which can really beneficial to us. So we have recently signed a MOU with the ISH, Indian School of Hospitality, because as Veera rightly said that clients really need those modification, those updated knowledge, candidate, who will join their organization, would be ready from the day one. So I think that's where now we are doing our bit as an organization. And of course, a lot of leaders are involved in setting up the curriculum. And Renu rightly said, I think what we can bring in, there are certain things which we'll eventually bring in through the curriculum, but there are certain things which are imbibed. So I think we really need to look at these more frequent collaborations, where we can go and do certain kind of a MOU, or can speak to the industry leaders in college, to look at how we can really evolve the entire scenario when looking at
hiring a fresher, or hiring somebody who has been a post grad but look come with a certain expertise, and can channelize the entire energy. And then of course, if that person will hire, that person will also be a leader one day. So I think, and of course do certain other assessments also within the organization to build up that person to a level where that person can be a have a remarkable journey. Because I think now everybody look at the at the period or a stint spent in the in the industry and make a big difference. So I think these are some small initiatives which I think industry and college partners have started realizing that how they can really modify to bring up the right talent, wherein we need to look at that. Veera rightly said, today I'm hiring for Java, after maybe 4 months there's something new comes in. And I think even in the soft skill also there is a lot of there is a lot of revolution which has come into the picture. What maybe one of my client hires, the same client doesn't like at all. So I think it's nothing. I think now when I look at any new CV today, I think I'm looking forward to hire a individual, not to hire a resume. So I think even the talent acquisition professionals concept, and the way we look at talent has also been changing, and it's changing every day, because there is something new coming in. So I think, yeah, that's where my take is.
Yeah. So that's to summarize, Sudeshna, of what Meenu, Renu, and had said about this topic is that we are kind of witnessing something of an onset of talent beyond boundaries. For example, the erstwhile convention saying that I need to only go hire a graduate for this skills is now going away. Slowly, the graduation, the requirement for hiring a person to be a graduate is going away. So it's more a skill fit than a graduate fit or an institution fit is what we will witness very soon. And because of COVID also, this talent beyond boundaries is definitely gathering a lot of pace. While there are some legal hurdles across organization, but I guess slowly uh, governments also will kind of see how to break this barrier of rules and compliances to kind of make the workforce more global. I mean, today we say we are a global workforce, but if I have to work for a company in the US sitting in India, we have a lot of legal hurdles. But I guess this is an onset of all these policy revisions which will kind of definitely gather more pace. And I'm sure definitely there are a lot of academicians and regulators who are sitting and watching this space, and definitely they are going to kind of come up with a lot of advisory mechanism in terms of how do we make this talent beyond boundaries a reality.
Well, that was really insightful. But when it comes to hiring, and especially the ones who are at par with the new technologies, always a comparison between the millennials and the Gen Z always comes up, surfaces. And as the millennials have seen the transition, and the Gen Z are coming readily into the workforce, into this new normal world. So, my next question is actually an open question to all of you. And there are two parts of the question that what is your personal experience when it comes to recruiting millennials versus the Gen Z, and also your experiences when it comes to retaining the millennials versus the Gen Z? So, Renu, if you would like to start with it.
Yeah. First of all, I would not place people in generation bracket, uh, and it is not because I'm questioning the very mold, but this is my own experience. Uh, a Gen Z or a millennial of a tier 2 aspirations will be quite different from somebody who is maybe a third generation of someone from metro cities, whose parents and they have worked in corporates, and he or she will have a different set of aspirations. So I will not put them uh, in these two bracket, but I would say that yes, uh, the new generation of employees, they would like to move fast, with whatever the understanding about moving fast in the career ladder is all about. They would like to move definitely fast. They would like to try various options out. They would not like to work in a siloed environment they would not like to, and this is a very common thing, that they would like to have more flexibility in hand. They would not like to uh, be, appraised once in a year and be told that, you are at the very first year, so we are giving you a lower rating, but the next year you can, go up the curve. They would say, what does it mean for me? Uh, and they would like to apply for newer roles, and if they fail or they don't like a certain role, they would ask for the other one. At the same time, you'll always have people who are introvert among these lot, in spite of they being of any generation. They would be people who would believe that, they won't cry, uh, but they would like that the manager should listen to them, should come to them. There are people, who make hue and cry, and then you only hear to them and then satisfy their needs. uh, but then these people could be very silent workers, and they would like to be heard. So as an organization, we have to be very clear that how do we capture voices of people through various mechanism. And uh, and there are various lots of people try to understand their aspirations, and and, and be able to, and the aspiration can keep on changing. So be very close to their aspiration as managers, and try to, work things both ways. Career is no longer, or for that matter, employee engagement. HR is not the one responsible, or the manager is not the one responsible. It's a three-way street, where the employee also plays an equal role. So for career, say same goes for career pathing, same goes for aspiration for taking up a new role or for engaging with the organization. So here, all three have to work together.
Yeah. If I can come in here, one of the things which I have really noticed with the Gen Z is that a lot of them have many side hustles going on, which probably was sort of frowned upon maybe half a decade ago, but is absolutely normal in today's day and age. And while this may be just knocking upon us, but it is soon going to be a new normal, that people would not prefer any kind of structured environment. I might not want to work 9 to 6. I might want to work 4 hours in the morning, then 4 hours in the night. That's my structure, and I'll work according to that. So that will slowly and slowly get into mainstream things, and side hustles are going to be a major thing as the newer and newer generation come into the workforce.
Yep. So, adding my perspective, I definitely echo Renu's opinion that, it's highly unlikely to put them as millennials and gens, and I'll tell you why. You know, there is this dangerous combination of lower capability and higher aspiration, right? So if you have a higher aspiration and higher capability, I mean, definitely you will figure out a way, and the organizations also will kind of make way for you to, kind of try and come and try some things. But at least 50-60% of Indian fresher population who's getting out of these institutes because of, mushrooming of institutions across, the quality has taken a back seat. uh, and what I term it as academic inflation is right now we have started witnessing. What I would say is academic inflation is that earlier in my parents days, if he had a graduation, he had a job. But right now kids with computer science degrees from, good institutes are heading home to play computer games, because of the fact that lower capability, but they want to come out and say, hey, look, I'm a, pass out from XYZ university, computer science graduate, give me a job. Definitely the jobs are not there. So the competition, when the competition is growing fierce, obviously there is an inflation to the whole academic capability that I possess as a graduate is kind of increasing. So this is a very, tough situation to be in. And added to that, what is happening currently is that the government also is bringing in a lot of institutions at the middle of the segment. I'll tell you what happens if there are new institutions which are created in the middle of the segment. there are these top IITs, there are these tier 3 tier 4 institutions, and the government has increased the number of seats in the middle segment. So what is happening, that the candidates who are otherwise not getting seats in the higher segment is now moving to the middle segment, and the candidates who were kind of not getting seats in the middle segment is now moving to the higher segment. Now because of this, there is a perception of visible quality difference. For example, if I go to IIT these days, I have heard from a couple of my counterparts also saying that the IIT quality has kind of diminished and become a point of question now. Go to the middle segment, tier 1 universities, they're also the same perception. If you go to tier 3 tier 4 also, people are thinking, what kind of quality is this. So this is what has happened, and there is a void which is created in terms of quality perception in all these institutes. Reason is because the tier 1 talent is going abroad. Thanks to COVID, last 2 years it has been stuck, but now the window is open and people will start moving. I think this void which is getting created has to be addressed, and that cannot be addressed by organization, but it has to take its own time to adjust. So that is one thing I would say is clearly a visible trend that I'm kind of witnessing. And now, how do I strategize into my organization? Understanding this academic inflations is something that is a point of discussion when I meet top academicians from some of the good institutions. I mean, these kind of conversations kept on happening. I guess it's a good development that we are having in order to kind of look at these scenarios. The other thing, as I was rightly saying, that millennials, and thanks to the country's economic development, we all have disposable income in our families, and most of the candidates these days are not asked to run the rat race of finding a job immediately out of graduation. So one segment of people are actually kind of going beyond the call of the hour, and they're saying that I'm not going to get into a job which is paying me decently, but I want to try something at the early of my career. That is one trend which I've observed. And another very important thing is that these days kids want to make decisions faster in their life. For example, if I said that I have to quit a job, it took me 15 years to kind of come to this decision. But the candidates now, because of the disposable income in the families and the surroundings, they can take this decision very fast. From a point of creating jobs, creating new startups, thinking beyond the convention, which is very good. But at the same time, the conventional services industry engine, which is running for a long duration in India, is taking a hit because of lack of quality, I guess. That is something I would say. But decision making, and I sum it up by saying that these days, what I am personally observing, and I completely echo with Reno, is that um, millennials, Gen Z is not going to matter as long as we are updating ourselves, because we are forced to kind of, and the kids are coming and competing with us like crazily. If I kind of lose one thing, the next person in my team is going to come and say, here is the solution for this. So I would say upgrading ourselves in this industry, constant learning in a knowledge economy, is very, very pivotal for all organization. And at the same time, at the fresher space, more crowd of higher aspirations and lower capabilities still there. That is something that we need to target and ensure that they build those capabilities and then come into the working world. And that is what my aspiration for some of this talent.
Okay, so we have questions coming in for us. And I think, the next question that I would like to ask is to Minu. That the question that is coming in is: recruiters at times select candidates based on their unconscious biasness. What is your point of view on unconscious bias, and how does it affect the hiring process?
Uh, Thanks, Deshna. I think it's very subjective, depend on case to case. I think generally nowadays it's actually very transparent when we communicate to the individual, and we handhold the entire process. We actually lay out the entire process, that how the entire hiring process will take up. I think even we are hiring on an individual basis, or we are doing any lateral hiring, or we are even doing recruitment drives, which eventually we have not done in past 2 years, but even I mean we were doing it in earlier 2020. But I think we generally recruiters, I think who are associated with the big brands, and have to go and take down the certain process. We are working on an automation tool, I think, and everything has been captured transparently on the portals. I get audited, once in a year, and I think likewise on every parameter when it comes to salary negotiations, to how the hiring process has been uh, you know uh, uh, gone, and of course the feedback which came in and what was asked from the leadership also. So I think we generally don't do that, I think. But there can be any case. I think it's again very subjective to comment on anything, but I think precisely what I have seen, I think in my career experience, uh, we really hold a very transparent approach, otherwise we will not be able to attract talent. So that's my take on this.
So, the next question that we again have from our audience is, what are the three important things to keep in mind when engaging in campus recruitment? So, for this question, I would like to reach out to Veera.
Yep. The top three things that I particularly, kind of keep in mind when engaging with campus recruitment is one, uh, the JD that I have, and the second thing is that the fitment and the history of my association with the institute. For example, what works for my organization may not work for Minu's organization, may not work for Piyush organization, or may not work for Renu. But what I would look at is, for example, if I've hired from this college in the past, are the guys going to, what is the retention of the candidates from these colleges, and what is the performance of the candidates from these colleges, and is it consistent over a period of time? If, for example, a college from Bangalore in the nook and corner is competing against my so-called tier one universities, I would definitely rate that particular college at a higher tier than, for example. And what usually happens, Sudeshna, is that when we go for recruitment, we, whatever JDs are and whatever the organization's CTCs are, we always have this perception saying that if we go to the higher tiers, then we are left with the bottom layer, and if we go to the lower tiers, then we are left with the top layer. So it becomes a trade-off at most of the junctures, irrespective of what organization you represent, what CTCs you pay. Most of the recruiters have this perception, so I get that perception has to be trade-off against what you want. And the other thing is that, what I look at it when engaging with campuses is that, are the campuses having the hunger to kind of go to the next level, right? For example, if a campus is a tier 3 campus and the leadership is taking a lot of interest in terms of moving the institution towards more collaborations, bringing more industry relevant curriculum into the picture, and enabling more research related activities within the institution. See, research related activities may not give you an immediate return, but on a longer run it is definitely going to add a lot of value creation in terms of pushing the college tier to the next one. I guess I would first look at the leadership of a particular institute in terms of what are their aspirations, what are they going to dream for their organization. Second thing is the candidate capability in terms of how the facilitating mechanisms in the institute. And three, obviously it depends on what talent layer of the candidates that these colleges been able to get it. And obviously the rest of the parameters, in terms of placement statistics, in terms of what they are doing creatively, all this comes in. But I would say the top three is one, doing a trade-off between your tier 1 tier 2 for your requirements. But underlining factor is that, what is the academic leadership doing for their institution to move to the next horizon? I think that for me is going to be the key. In the talent war, you cannot, for a 10 lakh CTC, you cannot go to an IIT because they will not even open the gates for a 10 lakh CTC. So if I have to go, then I have to obviously rely on other institution, and obviously there are a lot of challenges in terms of location, proximity of the institution to your organization, all this comes into picture. But I would overweigh the academic leaders visibility and aspiration for the institution to move to the next level tier.
Okay, so the next question here comes for Renu and Piyush, both of you. So when uh, in the stiff competition for talent, where organizations are ready to expand their talent pools, what is the role played by industry academia partnerships and what are some of its benefits. So we are really about to conclude, and we just have a few minutes left. So I would request a quick response from Renu and Piyush, both of you, on this.
So I would say that by having internships, so we have a lot of tie up with institutes where we hire these students on internship, whether they come fully on 2 months internship, or if we have a topic or a project, then those are shared with the team there. So that is one way to engage and develop and build the talent pool, and also by uh, we have an internship program which goes for full 1 year, which is like post their passing out. I think maybe a tier one institute may not like that or may not even aspire for that, but there are many institutes which go for it, and it also gives us a good time. If you hire them as full-time employee, you have high expectations from them, but if you're hiring them as interns or a 1 year interns, you know that what can you expect and what can you not expect, and then you in 1 year time you align them to the organization's need. And there is no job assurance at the year end, but what will you impart to the student intern is a lot many skills for employability, and what you get in return is that you are building a talent pipeline for future. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the academia today is realizing that they need to liaise very, very closely with the industry, and a lot of them, including us, are hungry actually to have them contribute to the program structures without any sort of obligations on hiring or anything, because that also helps us create the students which are far more adept to industry's demands, and also so much more relevant in today's changing times, as could be some of the recent use cases. So that is where I feel that if we can have them contribute, even if not actively, but a lot of the academic institutes have their own great learning teams who can devise contents given a slight indication on the lines. That is where the academic institutes should be reaching out to corporates very actively, and they should be working to have content built into the program itself, so that when the students move out, they are far more ready when they hit the ground.
All right, so we already have just 3 minutes left. So, one last quick question to all of you. So, in your opinion, what is the one biggest takeaway or insight from today's conversation? Anyone can take it.
Yes, so the biggest takeaway for me is that there is a lot of opportunities available, which corporates have not even explored, and they need to be explored to build this skill gap.
All right, so now we are almost about time. So, really, thank you, panelists, for sharing those insights. And that's, I think, truly the need of the hour. With this, we are going to wrap up today's session. It has been a pleasure hosting all of you. We would also like to thank our partner, Sunstone University, and our esteemed panelists for the invaluable information that they have shared with us today. Please share your feedback with us in the link shared in the chat window, as your feedback does matter. To stay tuned to your inbox for details on our next session as part of our Talent Talks series in partnership with the Sunstone University. Have a great day ahead and stay safe, all of you.
Thank
Right.
you. It
Bye-bye.
was great discussing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.